we are again at the beautiful Swish Co-Create. So very much a big thank you to Liz and all of her girls here for allowing us to be here and being a big sponsor and a supporter of the Hue Crew. And you know what? I think today we are really going to have an interesting conversation because there's a lot of questions and a lot of things buzzing in this air. And I feel as people come in, and we have like a great audience. So again, you know what? We sit here and we just talk.
We're good at that part.
We're really good at that.
But you know what we want to do is engage you in our conversation, and share the stories, because I think we just become stronger and we leave here so much more fulfilled. And you know what? Sounds like a corny word. Is that a corny word?
No,
Coming from Mrs. Mom,
because
it is.
Isn't that why we're doing this though? Like to bring something
so.
special and to make people feel, heard, and that brings fulfillment. I don't think there's anything
So maybe
wrong
it's
with
not fulfilled. Maybe it's enlightenment. Maybe it's knowledge.
Oh, you're feeling that with this
I know.
beautiful
This is
shawl.
I know. Look at me,
Beautiful shawl.
rocking the shawl from Pakistan.
Pakistan. So yes, okay. So yes, enlightenment
Bringing
is
my inner.
definitely.
Just kidding.
So girls, so good to see you, Rana, and so
Always.
good to see you,
You as
Susie.
well,
Yeah.
always.
Yeah.
You know what?
We're missing
And
one.
We're
We
missing
are.
one. Shayna, props to Shayna.
Yep.
She's in
Love you, miss you.
Trinidad.
Yep.
Hello,
I don't
she's
feel
in
bad for her.
Trinidad and we're in
Yeah.
Winnipeg. I don't know. Anyways, very special guest here, Cynthia Fortlage. And so I have this long, beautiful intro. But this woman is so beautiful. Anyways, make a long story short, walked away from a 30-plus year career as an executive with a technology company and created her own story, a beautiful transgender story. But more importantly, she is now embarked in this incredible journey and to spread the word through her professional speaking, her consulting, her business acumen, to deliver the message, acceptance without understanding.
Yeah.
3 words.
Think about how powerful that is, without her even getting into it.
Well, so reverse back how I met her was 2 weeks ago, and I'm doing videos for the Deer Lodge Center, and again, an amazing facility. And it's part of our, I hate to say this word, part of our ignorance, because we get so involved in our own little bubble. Work is only like 7 minutes or 10 minutes or 15 minutes away, and this is my whole universe. And then when you fall upon beautiful people that unabashedly show you a whole new light, and you go, holy cow, I have been living under a rock, or I need to tell this story, or you had an effect on me, Cynthia. Sorry, damn it. No, how can I say that? But anyways, no. So she's a client at Deer Lodge Center and taking speech language pathology work, and it's all about transitioning her masculine voice into a female voice. And so doing this interview with her is just like, and she was just, I can say proudly, flowing the words out. And it was truly, truly amazing. So ladies, I'd like you to meet Cynthia Fortlage and everybody here.
Yeah, it's super exciting.
We're so glad to have you. Thank you.
Great. I know there's a lot of, history, more history there, but you know what, I guess your story.
My story. You know what? It's interesting. Your own story, you never feel is worth telling. It's interesting. Short version is, I have had my entire career here in Winnipeg, over 30 years as a technology executive, and I was married for 32 years, 2 adult children, just putting my daughter into law school out in another province. So it's just
We'll talk about that later.
yeah, just going to that, and just to the realization that my life with working with technology was not fulfilling.
Okay. There's that word. Yeah.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was really a need to focus on what gives me fulfillment. And that was a realization that people give me a fulfillment. But obviously, I've been through a bit of a journey in the last few years. More recently, I've gotten rid of all the labels because I'm simply just Cynthia. That's it. And that has embarked me on a journey to leave Winnipeg, to take the message of acceptance without understanding to the rest of the world. And as of December, that's what I'm doing.
Amazing.
That is so exciting.
So you're leaving us.
I'm leaving a lot of people and a lot of organizations that are very close to my heart in the city and in this country in order to take a message to a much larger audience. You obviously get the message. You don't need me here. You've got it.
Yeah.
I need to go take it to people that
Don't get
don't
it.
get it and are struggling. And they're not just struggling with LGBT or anywhere there's oppression on this planet, which is everywhere.
It's everywhere. Yeah, we know.
Right?
Yeah.
Then it's a matter of taking that message.
Well, okay, so if we can be honest and open and frank,
Yes.
you said married for 32 years
Yes.
in a obviously a heterosexual relationship.
Yes.
What is the relationship now?
There is none.
There is none.
Nothing.
Nothing.
No.
And obviously hard or
It was the hardest thing that I ever did in my life.
yeah. No, I mean, and obviously courage and bravery too in that. And again, it comes down to acceptance without understanding.
Right.
So you know then along the way then there are going to be sacrifices, big and small, you know, all the
Absolutely.
time.
Absolutely. I don't think that anything is achieved in life without a sacrifice.
So true.
And
unf-
has that made you stronger?
I think that every challenge that we encounter makes us stronger. Through my life, I have struggled many times with mental health and other things. And I used to have this fallacy from a teenager that the way that you beat that darkness that we talk about was you find something of light and you fill your life with light. BS. Doesn't work. It does not work. You know why?
I see a lot of
It-
smiling faces. Yeah.
Because at the end of the day,
yeah.
that darkness is always right here. And all you have
Whispering
to
at
do is
you?
just turn
Yeah.
and
Just
look,
at you.
right? And as women, we hear it all the time because that's that negative voice that's talking to us and telling us, oh, put a little too much weight on, this doesn't look good on me, like
Oh, yeah.
whatever, right?
Yep.
But what I learned is the way to combat that is to carry a flashlight.
Really?
Don't be afraid of the dark, just carry a flashlight.
Wow.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
Wow. So, I mean, she has so much knowledge, and I want to get into business and everything like that
Sure.
because you talk about that too as well. But
So
Thoughts
let's
and
talk about the
comments?
message.
The message, acceptance
so-
without understanding.
So when you said the message came to you, did I misunderstand you when we
No.
were talking earlier? So
No.
can you talk about how you came up with this message?
Yeah, it's deeply personal. In working through my marriage, I had love. We talk about unconditional love. And we always say, you definitely have it for your children, right? But do we really, right? But certainly as a spouse, it was love, but there was no acceptance. I have no doubt, and I still care for my ex,
Of course.
and I believe that she cares for me. But that's no more. But there was no acceptance. And so I believe, this idea of true love is love and acceptance of the whole you.
Yeah.
Whatever that authentic you, right, the overused phrase these days, that is the essential piece. And so I had love, but I didn't have acceptance. Because unfortunately, my spouse fell into the same place that everybody does. right? And think about it. From young children, we're taught, ask why. As we go through school, especially post-secondary school, you talk about, troubleshooting and learning. You get into career and executive, and, you're kind of, the buck stops here, right? So you've got to have the answer. You've got to figure it out. So you're always troubleshooting in life.
That's such a technology executive answer.
I know. Actually.
Okay, so the flow chart goes like this. If no, then this. If yes, then this. So you must have been very good at your job.
She is.
Yeah.
But through that process, what you find is we always ask the question, why? And why is a question to gain understanding, which means as a society, we have been programmed to understand in order to accept.
Yeah.
So if you think about it, and you think of any oppressed group, we can't understand that group. Therefore, I can't accept them. And that's the behavior we see.
Yep.
Yeah. No, she's very true.
I totally agree.
Very true, and I totally agree too.
But if we invert that and go, accept. If my spouse would have accepted me, I'd still be married today. I would not be going traveling the world.
Yep.
But you like that, though.
But this is
it's your
obviously
journey,
what the
right?
universe
Yeah,
is
it was your
destined
journey.
for me to do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And when you learn that process, right, that's where the true power comes from.
Yeah.
So that's the origin of that phrase.
It's amazing. So and I'm going to ask a bunch of questions, because, and just
Just
so
because
people
it's Rana.
know, it's
Yeah,
me
no.
and I like to chirp.
Yeah.
But we actually know each other as well.
Yes.
So we've met, I can't even imagine how
2 or
many
3 times
Yeah.
formally.
Formally,
Yeah.
and then just through some of my friends, and Shandy, who, if everyone doesn't know, Shandy is a candidate who's like when I was leader, she was the first trans candidate to ever run provincially for any
And is
political
still?
party, and is still currently. So Shandy, we love you deeply. A very good friend of mine. But that's how I met
Yeah.
you, and I was kind of just in the circles. So I used to
Yeah.
see you guys all the time, and it was super amazing. But I always felt that because you and I have never had that conversation. It was very topical. Hugs, love you, hey, what's up? The runaways. You don't need to ask a lot of questions, you just get a lot of hugs. But I always felt drawn to you. So I remember when Tracy said like, Cynthia's coming, I'm just like, get the, because I was so excited because I just knew that you would have such a deep and, I guess like it's a story people can connect to, and it doesn't really matter what quote unquote box you're in. And I think we had that conversation earlier as well, is that your message is universal, and it doesn't so much just apply to one group or one category or one marginalized kind of group. It is actually that common thread throughout humanity, like who are we as people and how do we accept each other for
Who we are.
blanket who you are.
But okay, so now, you have a family. I'm going to throw it over to Susie. Okay, talking about kids these days, I find that kids are way more accepting and never ask the why, or am I,
So this is a really interesting conversation, because I had this conversation with a fellow mama the other day, and she lives with a child who is gender creative. Oh, and I love that term. I love that term. I don't know where she came up with it.
What does that mean?
It just means that this child does not need to define his or her gender right now. It is something that he or she feels, but maybe doesn't need to or have the words to articulate it yet. And I don't think we need to force that either.
Yeah.
Okay, so I look at that, and she was saying, other kids look at my child and ask questions and this and that, and she says, but her baby sister does not, accepts her as she is. And I said, of course. And I said, that's because she loves her.
Yeah.
When you love somebody, and it's funny because you say, talk about the true love without acceptance, right? So that asks me, because I'm always about, I don't like labels of any kind.
Right.
I think that every single person deserves dignity and respect no matter who you are, and that everyone is inherently valuable,
Right.
okay? So when I listen to that, I think, can you have true love without acceptance? Because if you're hiding the most fundamental part of yourself, really, from the person who supposedly loves you the most, whether that's your spouse or your mother or your father, whatever your child, is that really true love? Because true means authentic, true means real, true means that I could become disfigured tomorrow, and would you still love me? what makes me me, right? So going back to this conversation with this mother, she said her sister doesn't see this, and I said that's because all she sees is the person she loves.
Right.
Yeah.
And that's really what it boils down to. So I have 3 kids, and my kids are very different. Like, it's amazing how different they all are, right?
Yeah.
My oldest is a total jock, but he's still very sweet and emotional with his baby sister especially. My middle one is like David Bowie and Freddie Mercury reincarnated. Like, he's so amazingly creative, so beautifully pure-hearted and everything. And a long time ago, he was growing his hair for cancer. He wanted to get it saved for kids who need wigs.
Yep.
We found an organization that would do it, that didn't charge kids. He was so excited, but he grew this out for 2.5 years. In that 2.5 years, he was constantly addressed as a girl. Now, his name is Sam, which doesn't make things easier, I understand.
Oh, okay.
But some of the times he was addressed by guys with long hair. And he would look at me and go like, why don't they get this? And I'm like, right, Sam? Like, these kids are so smart and so observant, and they feel it in their heart. They really do.
Yeah.
And it's they are constantly looking for our approval of whether we agree
see.
with their
Yes.
assessment of the world.
That's true.
So when they treat everybody with respect, and they see you go, "Ugh," or look aside, whatever, that's
see
what they're
that.
responding
They see
to.
that.
They're
Yeah.
saying, okay, my parent thinks that something's wrong here, that something isn't right, and
So
that
then
makes
I
me
should-
question my behavior here. And that, to me, is an abhorrent thing to do to a child, because children are so accepting. They're not taught to hate.
No,
they
they're
are
not.
taught to ask questions and things like
Yeah.
that, but it's your job to educate them.
Yeah.
Every person deserves
know.
respect and dignity. Every person is inherently valuable, and every person deserves the same rights,
Yes.
period.
So
then-
the 4 of us
go
all
ahead.
get it. I'm sure all
You
of our
guys
audience
probably
gets
get
it.
it.
So I'm going to throw it out there. I mean, any instances, any stories that you want to share about, just sort of, being accepted, whether it's, even it's like you're coming
not
here
accepted.
or not
Or not
accepted,
accepted.
Marley.
Yeah.
Yeah. Marley's got a story? No. No one's got a story yet, Francine?
You can take a look right now. If you
Yeah.
are a parent, you're going back to school shopping, look at how many school supplies are gendered.
Oh, well, totally.
It is
Everything. Yeah.
ridiculous.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
And I can remember my son asking me at 5, am I allowed to like the color pink? Like, he actually said those words to me, and I was just like, what do you mean? He's like, well, kids in my class have said that I can't like that color.
Well,
and I'm like,
So school
color
supplies, but fashion.
is for everybody.
But
Yes,
fashion.
exactly.
Yeah.
Fashion.
Yes.
So, like, where do you like to shop? Or, I know Bella Bella's. Sorry, I'm doing this in name dropping. I mean,
Yeah, I mean, certainly in Winnipeg, when
Yes.
I look at my executive career, where I transitioned on the job. So
Yes.
I was wearing Nygaard and
yeah.
some of the other lines as well, and a number of the other higher end business clothing for women's stores, and that led me to become a Bella's girl.
With Bella's girl,
Yeah. So it was just really through that, and it was just using the simple understanding of the way that I dressed and the decorum that I carried as an executive in female form. And I did actually have to consult with a stylist to help me
of
kind of
course,
figure out a lot of the basics
Yeah. No.
and get going.
I think every woman could do that, actually.
I don't think that's.
I don't think
Right.
that's for any particular sector.
I probably should do that.
We do have one question.
Yes.
Comment from the audience.
Yes. Okay.
Thank you.
So just
Francine.
hi, nice to see you. So just based on back to school clothing and whatnot and genderless fashion, I study fashion on a daily basis, and what's popping up lately as well, and mostly in Toronto, but I can't wait to see it in Winnipeg, is genderless fashion boutiques. So we're talking men, women, adult, youth wearing the same thing. Doesn't matter what size you are, how tall you are, how anything, how it's for anybody. It's neutral. The colors are popping. Everyone's wearing it. And so they just highlighted the store lately in Toronto. And so I'm happy to see that we're evolving even in fashion and for, genderless fashion. So I'm happy to see. And I hope, again, Winnipeg, listen, create a boutique and I'll highlight it because it's coming.
And I
so,
hope that one day we get to the point where it doesn't have to be neutral colors.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
Anybody
No,
can
I
wear
mean,
what
there is
I know.
colors, but
Yeah.
it's genderless.
Absolutely.
Right?
Yeah.
And then eventually they won't even call it that.
Right.
Because
true.
men and
Yeah.
women alike
Yeah.
will
Yeah.
go. So I just wanted to pipe in on that.
I like that.
Thank you.
No,
Can-
that's great.
Just, I just, again, questions that just kind of pop into my head because I feel like I kind of know. So can you just talk a little bit about that? like being in a job at an executive level is hard no matter what.
Yep.
But to go through a transition
Right.
at that level, how was that experience? Like
Oh,
how did
lonely.
you manage,
It's
you know?
lonely.
And was there anything available for you for help?
Yeah, so maybe you can sort of address the modern workplace,
Right.
This is, so you went through it.
Yes.
There are obviously other people who are going through it as well. What do workplaces need to do, HR departments need to do
Oh, yeah.
to support people also going through this?
Well, you know, really that brings, you know, under that title of diversity, equity, and inclusion. And to a lot of organizations, this is a bunch of words. It's not in practice. So, you know, if I look at just even the conversation we had, right, and you were making the reference to your friend, right, understanding that perhaps a better word for this gender creative child is they. Because we're not associating anything, right? So just learning the words, the language of a genderless reference. And it's not just they, right? Folks is one I use a lot,
Right.
where you refer to. Nothing more, and I could be slightly sensitive to it, but nothing more than going into a restaurant or somewhere and you get served and go, "Hi guys, how are you today?"
I know. I know.
No,
It's my least favorite greeting, by the way.
Right,
Yes.
but think about it. From my perspective, it is that just a colloquialism? Or did they just out me? And
Yeah.
if they outed me, I'm going, okay, what did I do that outed me? And secondly, how safe am I? Because I don't know the people around
Yeah.
here, and I don't know if it's safe to declare who I was,
Totally.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so that
The
greeting,
language plays a huge part, and language evolves
Yes.
and needs to evolve as our society
Right.
is moving forward. I think that's a really fabulous notation by
Well, it
yourself.
has been, it's now part of, I guess, the Webster's or whatever dictionary for
Yes.
non-binary, so it's they, them, and their.
right?
And there are
They're
other
in there.
variations as
Yeah.
well. Like
Yeah.
there's Z, I believe. There's all kinds of different ones. And if you want to become educated on it, there's resources that you can.
Yeah.
Right? There's no
Right.
excuse
No,
as to why
exactly.
you wouldn't know if you wanted to know.
Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't know, there are people that you can hire and bring in
Yes.
to help with it, right?
Yes.
No, that'd be amazing. So
Yeah.
then again, so if continuing on in your journey,
Right.
a lonely one.
A lonely one.
Well,
And-
colleagues.
Well, lonely because I met other professionals in Winnipeg who have transitioned on the job and had their organizations support them. I have not met another executive who's ever transitioned or who has transitioned. So if we talk about it, you know, we talk about it in politics. You know, I talk about it within Women's March
Yeah.
that
Yes,
I organize.
I know. Yeah.
Yeah. So, you know, as we go through, and it's like, where's my representation? I'm not represented anywhere.
No.
Anywhere.
Wow. Just when we think we've come so far,
Right.
Cynthia.
So in a way, you're a trailblazer, really.
Sure.
Even though that's not, fun.
that's an understatement.
It's not fun per se,
Right.
you know. But yeah. If I may ask, Cynthia, what is your relationship like with your children?
It was difficult, but it's now absolutely a beautiful relationship. It's
That makes me so happy to hear that.
It's hard to see my daughter go to law school in another province. That there isn't that close connection. There will be, but it's given a chance for my son and I to further evolve our relationship and to kind of bring it in. So I'm very blessed to have good relationships with both of them.
Yeah.
Good.
And I wanted
That's
just to
wonderful.
add that Cynthia, you got strong ties with the Rainbow Center as
I was just going
president.
to ask you about
Yes.
Rainbow.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm the board president for Rainbow Resource Center
Excellent.
Nice.
as well.
It's a great resource.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, Manitoba's lucky to have
Yeah.
that organization, which is the longest continually running LGBT plus support center in all of Canada
Wow.
at 46 years.
Yeah.
Amazing.
And there, it's a great group of people, and for people who've never been inside that building,
Right.
you know, like they have a fantastic library. Like,
Yeah.
are they still
Tell
on
everyone
Scott?
where it is. Tell everyone
Is it
where
on Scott Street?
It is still on
Yeah.
Scott.
Yeah, so I believe
In the
it's
West
on
End?
Scott. Yeah. Is it the
Well,
West End? No,
well, West Broadway, I'm thinking.
I think
No,
it's
no, no,
more.
in
No,
Osborne.
was
Oh,
West
in
End.
Osborne.
it was,
It's
and now it's.
It's just
South
Okay.
Osborne.
Yeah,
Oh,
South
I was thinking
South
Sarah,
Osborne.
not
Yeah,
Scott.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, so
you.
you know, and you walk in, and it's just it's super
that's why we had to say
welcoming. They
where
have
it
this
was.
great library, lots of resources.
Yes.
I don't know who your ED is now, but who was ED?
What's Mike Tuttle is
Oh, it's
the
still
ED
Mike.
now. Yeah.
Okay, so
Yeah.
so you know, very open, very accepting. Call them, ask if you want information. Walk in there, use your library, use your resources. I can't count how many times I've been in there when I was in politics, just really, you know, engaging and
Yes.
really learning, because that's what we need to do.
Right.
And it's an active process. No one needs to come to you and tell you what to do. It is self-motivated, and we should, well, not we should, but do it. I'm going to take away the you should. Just go do it.
So
No.
the future. You said you're leaving.
What's the first
Where?
step?
Yeah. So where
It's
to?
exciting.
What are you doing?
Well, I've joined a program called Remote Year, which will introduce me to the working lifestyle of a digital nomad.
Oh, wow.
Okay.
And
I'm like, okay.
I'm taking my business virtual and on the road, and with the message, you know, both the consultancy aspect, the professional speaking, and the coaching aspect, taking all of it with me, and learning to live that lifestyle, take that message, and see where we can go. But that is my life for the next year.
It's exciting.
That's very
Okay,
exciting.
so I know like we're running out of time, but you know what? I really want to throw it out to our audience, because we have the audience has been sitting here, I think, kind of listening to everything. But I want to know, okay, business, breaking that glass ceiling.
Right.
Will you be able to do that for females?
I think the most important thing that anyone that moves forward, when you realize that you've gained privilege of any kind, is to take a moment, turn around, and help somebody else gain that privilege.
Oh, wow. And if we can do that,
If we can do that, we'll help everyone.
then we'll shatter that glass ceiling.
It never should have existed in the first place.
Yeah.
Well, I think, yeah, maybe we put it out there. Does anybody have any
I
questions?
think there's one question.
Yes.
Is that Chase?
Chase. Yeah.
I was just curious when you knew you were going to start your journey.
Start my journey. I would say that there was an element inside me that was, since I was 4 years old, I didn't want to listen to that voice. I didn't understand that voice. I waited till I was 50 to move forward on that. And that was in 2016. And that's when I began the physical process of transitioning.
Wow.
Thank you.
You're welcome.
And all I can think about is that if we are living in the type of society where there is acceptance without understanding, think of how many children will be spared that torment,
Right.
Oh,
right?
yeah.
Of just living their authentic selves from the get-go and being celebrated and loved for exactly who they are
Because we
all
know,
the time.
we know how the great impact it has on mental illness,
Yes.
you know, and then we have addictions, and then we have
I would say
homelessness.
suicide
and
rates, the list goes
suicides,
on,
like,
violence.
yeah.
Well, suicide rates for youth under 26 in that category of attempted or unfortunate success at suicide is about 50%.
Oh, wow.
It's
And I mean,
it's
those are
horrible.
like 50%
And
of
that's
the people
completely
that should
preventable.
be still
It is.
here. They're beautiful people, and they have
Right.
everything to offer.
So one final resource, which I didn't even know what our topic was today, really, so this is a beautiful sort of ending, is my friend in Ottawa, Amanda Jeté-Knox. I'm not sure if you have heard of her. She has just written a book, and it's in bookstores now, called Love Lives Here, a story of a transgender family thriving. And it is a
Nice.
beautiful love story. Her daughter transitioned at an early age, I'm going to say 11, and soon her spouse did. So it was a complete upheaval of their lives, but they are now living their best ones.
Right.
And it's a lesson for all of us
Yep.
that acceptance and love is where all happiness
Right.
starts.
All right,
Agreed.
so acceptance without understanding.
Yes.
We thank you, Cynthia.
Thank
and you know
you.
what? We
Thank
wish you
you.
all
You're
the best in
welcome.
our love. in your future endeavors.
Thank you
Because
so
you are going
much.
to be a trailblailcer.
You're
Yes.
a courageous.
And thanks to our
courageous,
audience.
courageous
Hey.
individual.
Thank you, Cynthia.